So, what a beautiful song. And it's kind of our theme song here. It's what we believe. But the idea of give the world a present, give the gift of your acceptance, that is about receptivity. Give the gift to the universe of you being receptive to your highest self. For if everyone was accepting their true nature, I don't think we would have any struggle in the world. We would certainly not have any wars. For if everyone understood that everyone was God, we would have to be getting along because it's just one thing happening. And I know that sounds simplistic in nature, but most things that are worth doing are simple, to be honest. So today's talk is very unusual for me to give. In preparing for this talk, I asked some people, some friends of mine, if you were to look at me, would you say that I was, in terms of energy, was I like a slow energy type person? Was I a medium energy type person? Or was I like a hyper type of person? I know, that's what they all said. They all said hyper. And I had to think about that. I was like, am I really though? Do I really have, am I that? I do have a lot of energy. But one of my favorite books in the world is called In Praise of Slowness. Took me a long time to read it. I sat it next to my bed. So an interesting thing happened this Thanksgiving. I did not go to Minnesota. I had the Brussels sprout moment, but it was just a moment, because somehow my Thanksgiving unfolded perfectly with relaxation. It was calm. I kept turning to Kevin and saying, I'm done. Everything's ready. Everything's prepared. I got to watch the whole Macy's Day Parade without trying to get everything else done because I'd done it beforehand. And it was just all unfolding really slowly. And as always happens, I went from an 8-person table to 16 people. So it was a larger dinner party. But everybody, the seating was perfect. Everything was perfect. Eric Overholzer showed up. I told him to bring 2 pies, and he went out of his way to not bring them. But to bake this 4-foot-tall cake that he called, what did you call it? A Rumi cake, because it's the entire ocean in a cake. It's not just a pie, it's an entire 3 pies inside of a cake that was baked around it, and it was 3 levels of pies and cake, covered with my favorite icing, which is cream cheese icing, like a cream cheese vanilla icing. It was, to look at it, first of all, it could barely fit anywhere, because it literally was this high. And when it came time to cut it, but it was perfect. It cut perfect, the slices came out, and we were all just like, this is the strangest thing we've ever eaten, and it's really delicious. He kind of took it like a turducken. Yeah, it was like the turducken of cakes. So everything just came out so beautifully and on time and perfect, and I just had this feeling of not accomplishment, but of expression. You know how I deal with that? I don't want to accomplish anymore. I just want to express. Accomplishment comes with the expression. That's what it felt like. And it was slow, and it was fun, and it was beautiful. And this is one of those years where I had all the people at the table were people that I really wanted at the table. Not that I didn't want anybody else who's come in years past, if you're here today. But it was more intimate in that there wasn't a person there that was like someone outside of my intimate, close friends. So it was really a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. So my question was, what was the difference? I want to read this for you. This is by Marcel Proust. He said this: there is, following an ample meal, a sort of pause time, filled with a gentle slackening of thought and energy, when to sit down doing nothing gives us a sense of life's richness and a feeling that the least effort would be intolerable. The melancholy we took with us to the dinner table has disappeared. And if we think of it at all, it is only to smile at some black mood now past, its cause having vanished. and with the melancholy, all scruple, all remorse departs from us. So I thought about my Thanksgiving and how sitting there after this huge meal, I mean, really huge meal, the calm and the quiet, and we have this beautiful waterfall at our pool, and I could just hear the waterfall and people smiling, and we had the fire pit on. It was just so beautiful, and I sat there, and there was a moment I just was like, how could life get any better than this? And how could anything take this away? How can I do something to be reminded of this even when I'm not here, when it's not Thanksgiving Day, when I haven't just had this huge meal? You know, what does it take? So Karl Honore wrote In Praise of Slowness. Now, this book, In Praise of Slowness, is all about a thing called the slowness movement. How many of you have heard of the slowness movement? Of course not. We live in the United States. So this is in France, and it's this little town in France, and it's called the slowness movement. And you are not, when you go to dinner, they only take one seating because it takes about 4 hours to have dinner. And you're not allowed to bring phones into this restaurant. You're not allowed to bring computer. You just can't. You just bring yourself. And everybody talks to one another, and the whole town is like this. And I told Kevin I would love to go spend a week there, and he said that would be the most torturous. And he did. So I am actually going to go there, but I'm probably going to have to go alone or with whoever would like to go spend a week with no devices, nothing. You know, they can get but Nora's like, no, it's not happening. But I loved the book, and I purposely read it like 2 pages a day for like 6 months. I just slowly read this book. And I want to read you some of the quotes from the book, because this is Receptivity Month. And one of the things that stop us from receiving is that we're too much on the go. We are too fast. We're a very fast culture. And in fact, the name of his book is In Praise of Slowness, Challenging the Cult of Speed. And he basically says that we have come to accept as normal this very speedy lifestyle, so much so that we have come to think of spirituality and those calm moments as abnormal. They're just those few moments that show up. And yet, we have the opportunity, if in consciousness, to decide to live life from this knowing, from this slowness. So here are some of the things he says. Being slow means that you control the rhythms of your own life. You decide how fast you have to go in any given context. If today I want to go fast, I go fast. If tomorrow I want to go slow, I go slow. What we are fighting for is the right to determine our own tempos. So how many of you feel that you live at a tempo you want to live at? Or do sometimes, and I know this is true for me, you just get dragged into this frenzy of, even this morning, it was hysterical. I knew what I was coming to talk about today, and I was taking my time. I went to the office, I was gardening, I was having this beautiful morning, and all of a sudden, Kevin was like, you have 5 minutes to get in the shower, get dressed, and get on the road. I was like, oh my God. And all of a sudden, I'm like at this whole different tempo, and then I stopped. In the middle of the shower, I stopped, because I didn't remember washing my hair. Anybody do that? You're done your shower, you go, did I wash my hair? No, because I wasn't there washing it. But I did wash. I don't know if I washed it. I washed it again. My hair's very clean today, clearly. But I realized that I was going so fast, I hadn't experienced washing my hair. If I had, so I slowed down. And I thought, you know what? Will Barbara Shane die if I am 5 minutes late? No, because I usually am. Yeah. But I mean 5 minutes past my usual 5 minutes late. And I was like, what is it in us that brings us to this state of believing that the world is going to end if we don't rush and get things done the way we said we were going to get them done? Now, I am not up here giving a lecture on everybody should just relax and don't do anything. Although the title of my talk today is Doing Nothing. I bet no minister's ever given this talk. Doing nothing. So, when I was 20, turning 21, I was in a production of Brigadoon in Denver, Colorado. I'd never been on a plane before I went there. I'd never barely left Philadelphia, and here I was in Colorado. I was riding horses in the Rockies. I was dancing in Brigadoon. I was having the most amazing life, and I decided at that point to take up knitting. A little old lady who was in the show was knitting, and she said, "Would you like to learn?" I said, "Sure." So every night we would go out back of the Country Dinner Playhouse and sit on the loading dock, and we would knit to watch the sunset. Have you ever seen sunsets in Colorado? Unbelievable. We actually had a sunset call. Usually actors have a places call. Half hour, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, places. We got sunset call, which was like a half hour before half hour. And all the actors would go out and watch the sunset. But I sat there knitting, just knitting and watching the sunset with this beautiful Bertha. And we would just knit, and I made this enormous baby blanket. I couldn't do a sweater, it's too much trouble. But as I'm putting this talk together, I'm like, I think that's probably the last time I ever did that in an ongoing fashion, every night for like 4 months, except the nights off, 6 nights a week. I would sit there knitting. So here's a quote about knitting from his book. "The best thing about knitting is its slowness. It is so slow that we see the beauty inherent in every tiny act that makes up a sweater. So slow that we know the project is not going to get finished today. It may not even get finished for many months or even longer, years perhaps. And that allows us to make our peace with the unresolved nature of life. We slow down as we knit." How many knitters are here? Do you like it? Barbara's like, "Not really." Why do you knit then?
I haven't in a long time.
Oh, you don't anymore. So, what do you do? What in your life gives you the opportunity to slow down? And how often do you actually take the opportunity to slow down? As you can tell, even my energy today is slowed down. I'm fighting it. I want to tell a joke so bad. I do, because that's my nature. I want to but you know what? Today has to be about, at the end of receptivity, asking ourselves, why aren't we receptive to the things that we are, to the people that we are? Why aren't we receptive to the great intelligence and wisdom of the universe that's right here in my mind? What is stopping me from being receptive? And I think as I end this month, I really get it. Part of it is just this cult of speed that moves us so fast, we don't have time. It doesn't have time to catch up with us. Or it does catch up with us, but we're too preoccupied doing everything we think is so important to do. Another quote. He goes on to say, "The great benefit of slowing down is reclaiming the time and tranquility to make meaningful connections with people, with culture, with work, with nature, with our own bodies and minds." He says, "Like a bee in a flower bed, the human brain naturally flits from one thought to the next. In the high-speed workplace where data and headlines come thick and fast, we are all under pressure to think quicker and quicker and quicker as time moves on. Reaction rather than reflection is the order of the day. To make the most of our time and to avoid boredom, we fill up every spare moment with mental stimulation. Keeping the mind active makes poor use of our most precious resource. True, the brain can work wonders in high gear, but it will do so much more if given a chance to slow down from time to time. Shifting the mind into lower gear can bring better health, inner calm, enhanced concentration, and the ability to think more creatively." So how fast is your life? Here's one thing. We're going into the Christmas holidays. I hear more people complain about how stressed they are at Christmas. What if we all decided today to just now through the end of the year really take this slowness concept into mind? Slowing down our heart rate. We had Reverend Helen here talking about heart math. I use it every day now. I slow down my heart rate. I take the time to calm myself. What if we all decided to move into 2019 as a new person, as someone who actually takes the time to listen, to hear, who actually, if someone comes and talks to us, we actually engage that person, Look into their eyes, talk to them, as opposed to, oh yeah, I know, because you're thinking of 20 other things you have to do and get done. It really is a bit of an epidemic, and I'm just as guilty as anyone. But I'm happy to think of spending the rest of my holiday season in this calm of slowness. And here's the irony. I've been doing it all week. I've gotten more done this week than I've done in months. Because I've slowed down so much, I just can get things done. There's more energy when I'm not trying. There's more energy when I'm not exerting. There's more energy when I'm not rushing. You know, in the book, one of the quotes is, multitasking is the enemy of efficiency. Think about it. I multitask, I try to do 4 things at once, and I get 4 half-done things by the time I'm done, as opposed to perhaps 2 things that I do beautifully and calmly. So, of course, when you're in this mindset, you end up drawing everything to yourself that kind of assists you in believing and understanding what it is you're thinking about. So, on Thanksgiving night, when everybody had gone to bed, I sat down, and the backyard, thanks to Nick Williams, is just backyard. My landscaped, beautiful area behind my house was so gorgeous. I just sat there looking at it all. And I just sat there thinking, how could life get any better? The last time I said that to myself, this couldn't get any better, I got knocked off a bicycle, slashing into my arm with a huge gouge, and then went on a yacht with my arm in the water to try to soothe it, and someone screamed at me telling me that I'd probably be attracting sharks. All of that was right after I said life couldn't get any better. Literally, I was riding my bike, life couldn't get any better, an electric arm came down that I wasn't paying attention to and knocked me off my bike. So there I was sitting there, I was like, how could life get any better? Instantly, your mind goes, oh. I was like, no. First of all, I'm sitting, I'm not riding a bike. Nothing could happen. So the next day, I'm just having this Friday and Saturday. I'm having this beautiful, beautiful day, and everything's unfolding perfectly, and I'm getting tons of things done, but only because I'm loving what I'm doing. And nighttime came, and the dogs fell asleep, and Kevin was he's rehearsing a play, and I'm sitting on my couch, and I was like, oh, I think I'll watch a movie. I could go do work, but I think I'll watch a movie. So I looked for a movie on Google Movies, and what do I find that I haven't seen, that I decided I wanted to see, was Christopher Robin. How many of you went to see that movie? I didn't go see it because I read some reviews, very cynical reviews, that were like, oh, it doesn't work. But I was in that mood, and I was like, this is perfect. So that's Christopher Robin to me, right? Doing nothing. And so I turned the movie on. Within 5 minutes, I'm a blithering, sobbing mess. Right? I'm like, oh my God, it's the story of my life. It's a father. He's so busy. He's not getting anything done. He's not taking time with I always did. Take time with his daughter. He's not spending time with his wife. He's just gotten so busy trying to get everything done. I got to work. In the old days, people had to work, so that when they turned 50 or 60, they could retire and suddenly have a life to live. Well, I know that we all think we're way beyond what they did in those days, and how husbands had to stay out working my dad, 2-3 jobs, hardly ever home, just to support a family. And that was normal. That was the way it worked. And then you could have time together on the weekend, or in the summer, you could go away. I know we're way well advanced, right? I don't think we are. I don't think we've advanced as much as we think. I think we're still way too busy. So I'm watching this movie, and it's really getting to me. And then all of a sudden, Pooh says this. And I just was like, I just started crying. He says, sometimes, I wish I could do his voice. Sometimes, I can't do it. I'll sound like a Russian. Sometimes doing nothing can lead to the most glorious something. Sometimes doing nothing can lead to the most glorious something. So there's my talk title, Doing Nothing. And I would like to say, Barbara found this picture. She sent me a bunch of pictures. I went, it's the guy in the tree. It's the guy in the tree. She took her 4 hours because she didn't know what I was going to talk about. She was like,
I couldn't do nothing except.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to do something. So doing nothing sometimes can lead to the most glorious something. When was the last time, and I don't want you to just glibly answer this, when was the last time you actively did nothing? I mean, on purpose, not just because you're exhausted, where you have energy and you actively do something, where you do nothing. I got to tell you, it's not easy. For type A personalities that thinks, I honestly somewhere along the line bought into the idea that I always have to be doing something until I go to sleep. And even then, I should read until I fall asleep. Keep my mind active. I don't know where I got that. Anybody else have that? Yeah, where did we get that? It's certainly not in France, in that little village. So if you can't remember the last time you did nothing, I think it's time for you to decide to do nothing for a while. And I don't mean for a while, like not quit your job and do nothing for the next 10 months, but I mean spend some time actively doing nothing. What would that look like to you? What would it feel like to do nothing? To maybe just sit under an oak tree and read something you want to read, not something you have to read, not something for your homework. When was the last time that happened? And if you're sitting here saying, "Yeah, I know, I do that," double it, triple it. Because in this month of receptivity, I think the thing that most stops us from receiving is all the mindless stuff we put in the way of this nothingness. Receptivity is about you allowing your highest self to come through. Receptivity is that place where you can hear the truth just come streaming through. If you're trying to accomplish something, if you are trying to create something, one of the things that Ernest Holmes says is that when we are receptive, creativity exponentially expands. So that's what I think Pooh means when he says sometimes doing nothing can lead to the most glorious something. Maybe right in the middle of that nothingness, Craig, the most amazing song comes through you because you're opened up to it. Maybe, Eric, the most amazing movie just flows through you. You don't even have to sit down and write it. It pretty much writes itself through you. And that doesn't mean you couldn't get up and sit on a computer and do that in the midst of this. But one does lead to another. And sometimes I think we lose this part. We lose the receptivity and we go at something. So as you go through these holidays, I'm going to offer and suggest that you slow down. Really slow down. Slow down your mind. Slow down enough to see who's there in front of you. Slow down enough to see your home, wherever you are living. Slow down enough to be able to look around and engage the world you live in. Not the world you want to live in. Not that place you think you're going to get to eventually, but what is here right now. Because as we understand and as we know, God is right where I am. I am that very divine presence. So if God is right where I am, how could it be anything but perfect? So I'm going to ask you to all take a deep breath and have the band come back up on stage. As I said, this is going to be a little bit of a different service. We didn't do our meditative song because I wanted to save it for now. So if you all take a deep breath. Robbie. So there's something inside of you that knows you better than anyone on the planet. If you would just let it know you. Rolling river God, little stones so smooth, only once the water passes through. And so I am a stone, rough and grainy still, trying to reconcile this river's chill. But when I close my eyes and feel you rushing by, I know that time brings change, and change takes time. And when the sunset comes, my prayer will be just one, that you might pick me up and notice that I am just a little smoother in your hand. Sometimes running wild, sometimes swollen high, but never have I known this river dry. The deepest part of you is where I long to stay and feel the sharpest edges wash away. But when I close my eyes and feel you rushing by, I know that time brings change, and change takes time. And when the sunset comes, my prayer will be just one, that you might pick me up and notice that I am just a little smoother in your hand. Rolling river God, little stones so smooth, but only when the water passes through. And so what I know for you and what I wish for you and what I sincerely give to you is the gift of acceptance, accepting that the water of that river that is God washes through you, gets rid of all of your brokenness, all of your edges, all of your sharpness, and leaves this beautiful, still spark of creative knowing that allows you to slow down and live life to the fullest. I guarantee you an amazing ride. Namaste. You're welcome.